I made a video recently about Roy Shaw fighting Lenny Mclean, and they had 3 fights and Lenny Mclean won 2, so he ended up being the governor. The thing is that people came on the comments and they were making comments about a particular boxer from the UK. And we like to know him as our Henry. It was Henry Coope, and a lot of people were saying that Henry Coope would absolutely destroy the pair of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Lenny Mclean today and Henry Coope and my thoughts, and if I think that Henry Coope could beat Lenny Mclean or the other way round, or could there be different instances where one or the other would win. Today we're talking about Lenny Mclean and Henry Coope. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know who Lenny Mclean is. Not a lot of people, apart from the older sorts that are going to be watching the video, not a lot of people will know who Henry Coope is. But I'll tell you one thing before I explain or give you a bit of history of Henry Coope. That man put Muhammad Ali on his arse. Sir Henry Coope was a plasterer. He worked at the meat market. He was a teenager at the Helsinki Olympics. He nearly knocked out Muhammad Ali. He swam the channel. He's so brute. He had a portrait of the Queen Mother in his house, and he was Britain's sport's most famous man at the time. On Tuesday night of March 1971, it was finally over for our Henry, when he lost a fight decision over 15 torrid rounds to Joe Bugner at the Empire Pool, Wembley, and it was bleeding tight. There was outrage, a nation divided, and in a crowded dressing room packed with melting ice on the floor, bloody bandages, old socks, profanity, boots and reporters in hats and macks, Henry held back the tears and announced, "That's it, gentlemen, that's me lot." It was, and Coope walked away about 11 p.m. on the 16th of March 1971. On that night in the Wembley ring, Bugner was just 21, the outsider, the kid, but he boxed a beautiful 15 rounds to just edge Coope on the scorecard of Harry Gibbs. The referee and sole arbiter back then, Coope and Gibbs never spoke again for 30 years after Bugner's arms was raised. Deep wounds run long in our old game. Coope is most famous, I guess, for the left hook that dropped Ali, who was then known as Cassius Clay, at Wembley Stadium in 1963. Ali went down heavy, hit the ropes, and the bell sounded to end the 4th. In the 5th, Coope was rescued when blood from cuts covered his body. "I could hear him bleeding," Ali said. The debate is whether Ali would have survived if the punch had come 10 seconds earlier. The answer, which might not please Coope fans, is yes. Sorry. In 1971, Ali survived a left hook knockdown in the 15th, the last round against Joe Frazier in the fight of the century. Frazier had 2 minutes and 21 seconds to finish Ali. He never did. And then there was a Bugner fight, one which is still being discussed 50 years later. It was our own British fight of the century. And then there was the Brute campaign, the reign as captain on Question of Sport, the day he and Bugner swam the channel, the 2 BBC Sports Personalities of the Year award, his friendship with Princess Anne and the Queen Mum. There's a lot to the council estate kid from South London. There is a lot that made him a household name, a brand for reliability and decency and honesty. We loved our Henry. There was no guarantee of fame and riches from the ring when he turned professional. He could barely buy his mum and dad a television with his first payday. He kept on, fighting all over the place at small halls, on undercards, learning his trade and building his name. In his first 23 fights, Coope lost 7 times and was stopped 4 times. But he was learning a craft, and in 1959 he won the British heavyweight title. He would hold it for 12 years, win 3 Lonsdale belts outright. He was the first person to win Sports Personality of the Year twice. From my previous video, the word that was in the mouth in the comments was, could Lenny Mclean beat a professional boxer? And this is the man's name that came up. Our Henry Coope. Do you think that he could have beat Henry Coope in the ring? For me, it really all does depend if he could have beat Henry Coope in a fight, and I'm going to explain my reasons right now. Lenny Mclean was a big man. Lenny Mclean was a strong man, a hard man. He had so many fights that he won. He lost fights. He has been knocked out. But the question in the comments that came up on multiple occasions would, could he beat Henry Coope, or Henry Coope would beat him outright? If you put these two people in a ring, in a professional ring with a marquee of Queensberry rules, I think Henry Coope would have easily finished off Lenny Mclean in one round. He was too clever. He was too astute. He was a boxer. He was professional. He, for me, would have beat Lenny Mclean without a shadow of a doubt very, very easily if it was in a professional ring with professional rules. Lenny Mclean could not handle Henry Coope. Okay, you might say, what about an unlicensed boxing match? Because that's what the previous video was about. I still think the same outcome would happen. I think Henry Coope, regardless what had happened, because there is going to be less rules, obviously, and the referees a lot of the time were there just to be there. I still think that Henry Coope would have beat him if Lenny Mclean came at him, because he could have knocked him out if he'd got that punch there. I think Henry Coope would just have tied him up. He would have kept him at a distance like a professional fighter would have done. And then I think that that left hook, as it did with Ali, put him on his arse, it would have completely finished Lenny Mclean. Now we'll go and talk about what happened, or what would happen if this was on the cobbles. Now, this is a completely different scenario. I think this is where Henry might have got out of his depth, because I think there would have been a lot of gouging, headbutting, even kicking and stamping as we've seen before previously in Lenny Mclean's fights. I think Henry Coope would have got in a lot of trouble. I don't think he would have been battered as such, but I think he would have been in a lot of trouble. Lenny Mclean would have smothered him. You know, Henry Coope would have tried to keep his distance, use his jab, his left hook, and he would have used all his professional abilities. However, I still think that Lenny Mclean might have just edged this one on the cobbles, just because there'd be no rules, no one to stop it. I think it would have been close, but Lenny Mclean on the cobbles would have won that one. So this time, Lenny, it's not 2-1 to you, it's 2-1 to our Henry.